I welcome the Duke's Handbook, where I give general life advice for people that are asking for it. Let's get into it. Is it appropriate to check in on an ex after the death of a parent? Hi, I'm feeling very conflicted and could really use some outside perspective. My ex boyfriend, 19 male, and I, 19 female, broke up about 6 months ago. The breakup itself was not hostile, but we eventually blocked each other on social media and stopped communicating. Since then, we've had no contact, and he made it very clear that he wants nothing to do with me because he won't be able to move on if we have relevant ties to each other. It was harsh, but I'm in my final stages of fully getting over it. That's good. During our relationship, I was aware of serious health issues affecting one of his parents, which he was dealing with privately. Yesterday, that parent passed away. I found out through a mutual acquaintance. Out of respect, I called him once to offer condolences, but he didn't answer, so I assume he preferred no contact. Later, through the same mutual friend, I was told that he appreciated the call and hadn't seen it at the time. Based on that, and after some encouragement, I called again later that day. He answered, we spoke briefly, and I offered my condolences. The conversation was short, appropriate, and ended there. I have not contacted him since. Some people close to me believe that, given the circumstances, it would be appropriate to check in again after some time. Others, myself included, think it's best to respect the boundaries that were already in place and not reach out further unless he initiates. I'm feeling very conflicted about that, about what the most respectful approach is here, and would appreciate some advice. This was 9 hours ago. Honestly, I think you did the right thing. You guys' relationship did end, but it didn't end in a bad way. And the only reason that you guys ended up blocking each other is because he said that he wouldn't be able to fully move on, which means that there's still that emotional tie there, which isn't completely a bad thing. That being said, I could see why he would need to move on. I don't need to know the aspects of your relationship. It would help a little bit more in the context of giving the advice given. But being that you are sitting here and telling me that the relationship wasn't a bad breakup, and, unless you did something horrible like cheat, or he did something horrible like cheat, or whatever, the fact that he answered the call means to me, anyway, from the outside looking in with as little information that I have, shows me that neither of you did anything wrong per se. Like, it was a young couple, things didn't work out, and that happens. You know, you respecting the boundaries to the point, but also sending out your condolences for his lost parent. I mean, that's respectful, that's amicable, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that you did that. However, I think the harder part here is you've already done what you set out to do, which was to offer your condolences for his loss. After that, it kind of becomes this thing where if you reach out again, then it's no longer about that loss. Um, and now you're not respecting those boundaries. And it could come off as you're using that as a way to communicate with him to possibly get back together. That's what I see here from the outside. I You're gonna do whatever you want. Now, this is just my advice. You're gonna do whatever you want and whatever. But I would say that you've done the thing that you reached out to do, and leave it at that. And yeah, because it could come off in a way that you're not meaning it to come off. You may not be. trying to come off like you want to get back together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to comment to you on here. So bear with me. So what I left in the comment here is I think what you did was respectful with not knowing what was the reason for your breakup and you guys blocking each other, but mainly to be able to move on from the relationship tells me that the feelings were there and are still there, at least for one of you. Since you were respecting the boundaries and reached out to offer your condolences and achieved the goal you wanted, it's best that you don't reach out again because it could come off that you are using that death to get back in contact with him again and potentially try to build a relationship back from the outside looking in. This is what I would get from it. I hope this helps. Oh, look, I got 2 notifications. Okay. This one, somebody actually responded from another episode. This one was the should I move out? And if you don't remember, this is what I said. I said, I'll put this snippet of that episode in here, but just make it this is the hard part. You have to make it a point to call your mother so that she doesn't feel lonely. Text her, let her know that she's not forgotten. That alone, that makes a huge difference. And then also, because you're going to be only 30, 40, 45 minutes away, go over there. Not every day. It's not like, oh, get off of work, drive all the way to see mom, and then drive all the way home. No, like go over there for dinner or, go over there, take her to church, whatever it is. So I'd say 22 years old, if you have the means to be able to move out and live on your own and not struggle and it's not a problem, go for it. Absolutely go for it. They said, thank you for the good advice. I was thinking of coming over during the weekends just to keep in check, which is also good. Should I trust this girl or should I discard what she said? Okay, so I, 21 female, work with this girl, 20 female. Let's call her Bray. As mentioned in a previous post, I have a crush on another coworker, 26 male, which will play an important role into this. Let's call him Chris. So Chris is pretty aware of my feelings as a different coworker basically wingmaned and let him know. And Chris had the biggest smile on his face when finding out. Several coworkers are all for the relationship, as well as my manager and director are aware of my feelings. I don't really care to hide them and don't really seem to care since other people at work have gotten together and married where I work. So Bray messaged me midway through work today and asked if we can talk. I say, sure. Bray tells me that Chris is talking to someone and that he wants to do an SH claim against me for having a crush on him in the workplace, which I'm way too shy to even act on. My one coworker literally had to wingman for F's sake. And that everyone who's for it is basically BSing me and against me. Now Bray has not once been nice to me the whole time I've been there until today. She has said my bag smells like a deceased grandma in front of everyone, has tried to make me feel small several times for dressing very feminine. Fuck her. Excuse my language. For dressing very feminine? Dude. Okay. You're a woman, so and has made fun of me for my past career path before my knee injury, professional dance. I've tried so many times to be nice to Bray. I always complimented her, tried to include her in conversation just for her to snub me. I spoke to my coworker I'm really close to about what she did because apparently I looked like I was almost in tears and they basically told me she's being a bee. Is Bray being legit or is she just finding another way to snub me? What should I do? Don't trust her. Okay, look. This is kind of frustrating because it's like you go into work, you try to be nice to this person, and all they do is snub you, diss you, and everything like that. And you've got this crush on this guy, and the only thing I can think of is this chick also has a crush on this guy, but dude has kind of crushing on you too. And this is kind of what bothers me. She says you dress too feminine. What are you in construction? How does it what does it matter if you dress too feminine? You know, you're a woman, dude. Like, bro. that that would be an issue if you were like a man in construction and somebody came up to you and was like, dude, you're dressing pretty feminine, bro. You're a woman in whatever type of workplace. So dressing feminine is kind of your thing as a woman. Am I wrong here? Am I crazy for thinking that it's okay for a woman to dress feminine at any workplace? Come on. Whatever, dude. I think she's just being a B word. Why it in my mind, why would she want to help you out now? That's how I look at it. Why would she want to help you out now if she's done nothing but snub you and be a complete B word to you? I would swear, but I'm trying to watch my mouth a little bit more. I can't imagine somebody like this actually looking out for you in your best interest. Now, granted, could this be a potential sexual harassment claim? Yeah, which is why I go by the general rule of don't date within the workplace, because if it ends up bad, it ends up real bad. If it ends up good, great. But just because some people have gotten married from your workplace doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But if this is that type of workplace where they're okay with inter-office relationships and stuff like that, then, go for it. Why not? Whatever. And who knows? It could work out. I think this chick is just being a bitch. Just a little bit. No, a lot of it. She's been a B word to you since you got there. And I think she's jealous because you're the young, maybe attractive one now, and she's not. Well, I mean, you're a year older than her, but it's beside the point. I think she just doesn't like you because she thinks you're more attractive than her. And you know how girls are. Freaking y'all are catty as hell. You know, women are different than men in this way. Super nice to the face, total B word behind your back. And then men are total dickheads to the face, but behind that man's back, they're like, oh, don't you ever talk crap about that guy. That's my boy. I'll throw hands on that. You don't want that smoke. You know what I mean? That's how we differ mostly. This woman just all of a sudden trying to be nice out of the blue, it doesn't track, dude. It really doesn't. And then I guess where you're saying like several coworkers are all for the relationship, as well as your manager and director are aware of your feelings and they are like totally cool with this thing. And the only problem I see is You had somebody go wingman for you. They told Chris about your feels, and he smiled. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know what you smell like. You said this woman said that your bag smells like a heaping pile of cat dung. Not in those exact words. But that could also just be her throwing shade for no reason. I, I say go for it. I say go for it. Why not? Why not? Moving on. Curly hair guilt. Hi, I was wondering any other girls experience this or guys, if anybody else experienced this. But when I was in my curly teens, I lightened my curls with baking soda and peroxide and worked hard to grow it back, and now I'm about to be 17 and I was being dumb. I saw a girl on my school. Bear with me on this one. It is typed out really bad. And she gave herself a peekaboo, whatever that is, and a skunk stripe, and I thought on it for like a few weeks and then decided, oh, I don't care about having natural hair anymore or like undyed hair. So I did it not with any bleach, but like 20 volumes developer, and I made a brown, but it came out orange. Oh, okay, whatever. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Having this sad feeling every night, though. Wow, this is bad. Okay. No periods. It's just typed out. Okay. For a, by the way, I don't know why I have so much pride in my curls, and I'm scared that people will notice and won't compliment them, because what if my hair doesn't look as good as, and it's kind of eating me up. Excuse me. That was really hard to read. There's no punctuation at all. And dude, I don't even know what half this crap is. Your hair is your hair. What are you talking about? Curly hair guilt, dude. Don't be guilty because you have curly hair. So have curly hair. Why are you worried about this? So what? If somebody does the same thing or has the same thing or whatever, or they dye their hair or whatever, who cares? Do your thing, dude. Be you. Do you. Like, bro. I don't even know why you're caring about that. There are a lot more things to care about, like not to be a D, but your schooling, because this was terrible. And you need punctuation and how to formulate sentences. Go to bed. Stop worrying about other people's hair. Do your thing. You do you. Okay? How do I tell my parents I need help with my mental health when they don't believe in depression? The title is longer than the post, but we will talk about this. They don't think depression is real and think mental health problems are a moral failure. What do I do? First of all, depression is super real. Anxiety, super real. I know there are people that overplay it or self-diagnose and all this stuff. We see it all over social media today where people go, oh, I have anxiety, so I literally can't work. And then they get on disability or something like that, whatever. And you're like, how do you have anxiety, but you can't work, but you're able to literally go everywhere, do everything, and be in any crowded area for long periods of time? It just doesn't make sense. Some people are just faking, right? But realistically, I mean, like this whole not believing in depression, it's like, so what, your parents have just never been depressed ever? That's a lie. you know. They might have just been like, yeah, I'm kind of sad today. I've had days like that where I'm just like, I'm kind of sad, but I have PTSD, you know. So, and I had an uncle that I still have an uncle. I love him to death, you know. He was out visiting me when I lived in Utah, and we got into this debate about whether or not PTSD was real. And he was like, World War II vets and Vietnam dudes didn't have PTSD. I was like, they did. They called it shell shock, So we got in this whole thing. And then, obviously he spent the night, he slept on the couch. And then he asked me if I was awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, no, I was dead asleep. And he goes, oh, because you were in there screaming. Oh, that's called PTSD, which he then later apologized for saying PTSD isn't real. So I think it's because he actually experienced what somebody with PTSD is like when they're sleeping, and then apologized, like going, oh, okay, so it is real. So here is my idea for you. Depression is super real. Don't ever think it's not. That's a dangerous game. I know needing help and what your parents are going to do is like, you don't need therapy, you need a hobby, whatever. And a lot of times hobbies help, find something you're passionate in. The downside is with depression, you then just don't feel like doing the thing, right? So you need some friends. I don't know how many friends you have, or if you have any, or if you don't, whatever, but you need some friends. You got to be able to fall back on these friends. I know for me, I can call up one of the homies and we just talk for an hour or 2 hours, or whatever. And a lot of times the talking is what really helps. Just because your parents think it's fake, you're going to have like a sit down with them. I don't know how old you are. I'm going to assume you're like maybe 13, 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. If this is a topic of discussion that you have to talk to your parents about getting mental health help. If that's the case, set it up with your counselor at school and talk to her or him and figure it out through that avenue. But also sitting down with your parents and just telling them what you're experiencing could help them see something. Now, you could get hit with the general, like, oh, it's not real, whatever. You're feeling this type of way because of A, B, and C, and part of it might be your hormones. You're going into puberty or whatever, and being a teenager, your hormones are all crazy anyway. So you're hitting like different peaks of hormone levels, and then you end up getting depressed. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I remember being a teenager myself, and yeah, there was depression there, but also there was times where I wasn't depressed. I started experiencing depression really heavily when I got back from Iraq. That's when I started experiencing it really heavy, but that was also because it was tied to other stuff. So I would say speak to your parents, and if they don't take you seriously, talk to your counselor at school, and at the very least, you have a counselor to talk to at school, and you can use that as like a depression outlet. So I take mental health very seriously, mainly because I've got brothers that have necked themselves because of that. And I think everybody needs to take mental health seriously. So I'm not underplaying what you did here. I didn't really have any information to go off of. Like I said, the title of the post was longer than the sentence or than the post itself. But I really think that we all need to take mental health seriously. There is the mental health hotline that you can call for sure. That's always a good number to just like have. It's something to call. I haven't heard much about it. But you do need to take it seriously. Start looking into some books. Look up some other creators and YouTube creators that talk about stuff like that and how to go through it, because this is something that, although kind of rare in today's age where parents don't believe in mental health and depression and everything like that. And the way that you worded this was a moral failure. Is this like a religious aspect or what? So either way, everybody needs to be taking mental health seriously. And if you have a friend that is saying they're depressed, you need to be talking to your friends. You always got to be checking up on your friends. If you need to, there is the mental health hotline that is out there. It's a good thing to have. And then also talking to your counselor at school if you are of that age, whether you're in high school or college. Definitely do that. And then also, there's like a ton of like online things. So if you're making your own money, which you're probably not if you're in high school, but if you're in college and you're making your own money, just do the online therapy sessions. Those help too. So that's really as far as I can go with that. There's not much I could tell you. Other than that, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not licensed in any mental health type stuff. I go through my own mental health stuff, you know, and I can give you advice based on that. But I can't give you advice based off of parents thinking depression is a moral failure. I've not had that. So I hope you're able to figure it out, and I hope you're able to look into the resources that are available to you and get the help that you need. So, all right, well, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Much love.